name is Angelina NOBILE. I am from New Orleans. More than New Orleans, I'm from down below, is what we called it. St. Bernard and Plaquemines Parish. Leander Perez country. My father started working for Leander Perez. My father was a JAG. When he got out of the service, he was looking to be a lawyer. And so he went down below and he talked to the judge. And my father was Italian. He was a northern Italian, not a Siciliano, which meant he could never belong to the mafia. He was also a Freemason, 32nd degree Freemason. Very important, Leander Perez was a Freemason. Freemason goes back many centuries in our family. Now that may not mean anything to you, but the Freemasons and the Mafia work together. Okay, and the Freemasons provided protection so that the syndicate could carry on their illegal activities. And most of the Freemasons, if you were a Shriner, and you had to get 32nd degree, you were either a politician, a doctor, somebody with power. If you needed somebody knocked off, they'd go to the Mafia. So they worked in tandem. It's like that in Italy, it's like that in America. They just brought it over here. My father was the age of Leander Perez, Judge Perez's sons, Lee Jr. and Challen. And he became the Italian connection, I guess you would say, because they down below in those two parishes, many of the people were illiterate. They were shrimpers. They had oysters. They were trappers. It wasn't very many people when my dad moved down there, and there wasn't a lawyer. So he became Judge Perez's lawyer. He told him all his secrets. He became his confidant. He became his insurance policy. And as well, Judge Perez became my dad's insurance policy, because he started doing things that probably were questionable. I guess I'm a little upset because I'm breaking a promise that I made to my father. See, I didn't know any of this was happening. I knew we lived a mysterious life. Believe me, it was mysterious. He would always tell me, ascoltami bene, acqua in bocca, means you listen to me well. Don't let the water come out of your mouth, which meant you don't talk about anything that goes on in this house. You don't talk about anything we talk about. Nobody comes into this house, not your friends, not anybody. And when we leave you alone, because they didn't trust people to stay with us, there was nobody to stay with us. He showed us how to use a gun at a very early age, and he said, shoot them. So 3 little girls, I was the youngest of 3. And that was our instructions. Anybody comes through the front door, you shoot them. I thought I could do it, you know. I sure have wanted to shoot somebody. Well, my father, like I say, I left home when I was 15 and a half and went to LSU in Baton Rouge. I did not really like living down in the parish. Everybody knew me as the daughter of Judge Noble. They Americanized it to Noble. My mother said I could pass. I said, pass for what? She said, white. So she said, don't tell the college boys you're Italian. So I left but things started to get bad down in the parish. But before I left, I knew that my father had changed. And I don't know exactly when he changed. He became tormented, I know that. But when the president was killed, it was the Thanksgiving holidays. The courthouse was closed. By that time, he was a district attorney. And so he wasn't at work. And we were at home, and so I kept the TV on. My two older sisters, they weren't interested, but I was always interested, you know. And so finally, when Ruby shot Lee, my father just about exploded. And he went over the TV, he shut it off, and he started cursing. And of course, as a child, I thought he was cursing at me. He said, "Don't turn that TV on again. It's lies, it's all lies." And I'm thinking, what, Kennedy's not dead? You know, I mean, he wasn't. But I knew not to approach him when he was like that, you know. So I just didn't fool with it. I just kind of put it out the back of my mind, because he exploded a lot. He was genetically loaded for it, you know. So what you gonna do? You just, you know. And by the way, I am too. So, but his personality changed, and he was always telling me, "Be careful, be careful, be careful. Watch your back, watch your back." We couldn't date. We couldn't. In fact, nobody could even come into the parishes unless they checked it with my father, or with Leander Perez, or with one of the sons. You couldn't even live in the parish. Hey, we're talking about rabid, white supremacists here. That's what we're talking about. You had to have that mindset. You could be Italian, you could be Islanos, which is what Judge Perez was, which he came from the Canary Islands. You could be Polish, but you couldn't be black. Okay. Now we did have an enclave of African Americans that had inherited a large plantation, but Judge Perez, who was a dictator, an absolute dictator, who was like the big papa for all the people, he would not let them have running water, any kind of sewage, you know, system, anything. And they didn't get that till 1978. They couldn't vote. They beat them up. It was really. We were living in a different era. They were trying to protect what. First, my dad was Italian. He didn't live. You know, he didn't know what a plantation was. He knew what a chestnut was, but he didn't know what a plantation was. So this was all foreign, but he wanted a job. He did not know what he was getting himself into. So after the assassination, I was about 11. He started to get very paranoid. He did know very well, and I've met them all too, Carlos Marcello, Jim Garrison, Guy Bannister, Sal Licharta. I could go through the list of them.
Jack Rowley.
Jack Ruby.
Rowley.
Oh yeah, Jack Rowley. God, Lord. There was always a turf battle. They were trying to get Judge Perez out because he was doing some really illegal things, but he was entrenched. Okay. Well, Freemasons will not go against another Freemason. You take an oath. And it's just like the Italians, the mafia. They don't turn on each other, usually. So my father was sort of caught, okay? This man gave him a livelihood. He bring up 3 daughters in a very nice style. But I got sort of suspicious something was going on when I went to college, he didn't want me to come home very often. I thought, well, that's odd after telling me, watching me like a hawk. So when I graduated one day from LSU. The next day I was living in Athens, Greece for a whole year. And I thought, what's this about? He needed me to be out of the parish. My other two sisters were married and gone. He was worried about me. Now, it wasn't so much because of the president being assassinated. MLK was involved in this as well. He knew where all the bodies were buried. And as long as that old man was alive, not my old man, but Judge Perez, my daddy was okay. But when he died, and he died a year after MLK was assassinated, my daddy's protection went away. And believe me, he knew it. He told me the story. He had heart surgery, and he thought he was going to die. So he purged himself to me. He took the monkey off of his back and put a gorilla onto mine. And I stayed with him for 3.5 months in the hospital. And at night, he would just talk and talk and talk. And I thought, I wrote it down as soon as he would go to sleep. But I thought I was finished with it. He said, keep the water in your mouth. I never told my sisters, I never told anybody. And I promised him that I wouldn't. 2 years later, he found a way to take himself out of his misery. He was tormented. I was happy for him, but I missed him. And he left a lot of things for me that I did not find until 2 years ago. And he absolutely, without a doubt, said Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent. In fact, Lee Harvey Oswald's cousin was my dentist. He knew of Lee Harvey Oswald, had asked my dad if he could find him a job. He said something to the effect that he stuttered a little. I never heard that, that's just what he said. He may have been nervous because my daddy was kind of imposing. But he absolutely said it was horrible to have to keep the secret, not be able to say anything, because that was the only way he could protect his family. Because if he told anything, we'd all be blown away, for sure. But I figured he must have told me this, and I told Judith, she said, would you come and say something to her? And I said, no, but hell no. But she's a very persuasive woman. I just happened to write her a little note, and I said, if it means anything, I know he's innocent too. Well, boy, she grabbed on that like a crab. And here I am. Like I say, I promised my daddy I wouldn't tell, and I've told. I don't like the feeling, but I gotta live with it, but I do feel good. Then I can say my daddy absolutely knew for sure that Lee Harvey Oswald was completely innocent of this. He had nothing to do with it. In fact, he liked Kennedy. So, I guess that's all I have to say is that that's what I came to say.
We actually have more witnesses. A couple are ill. I was also going to speak, but I don't think I have to. And maybe we can come back next year and get some more of this. If you want to hear more, we can do it again next year. Come on, see one again. See, this is the thing. time, some of us hear the fact that, well, you're at a conference, this is not scholarly enough. You're getting the witnesses, you're getting the information, and you're not getting theory. You're not getting debate once you get the real thing. And this is what it's about, and you're part of it now. Thank you.